Okay, so we are going to start with the first one. It says basically just create the following private attributes. Okay, so your attributes, unless they say otherwise, it's always going to go underneath your private section. So in this case, we've got fname, fsir, which is both going to be strings. Now you can put it, because it's the same data type, you can just say fname, comma, fsurname. I just like to keep them a bit separate. I just like the neatness actually of it. So you can go fname, fsurname. Let's quickly just see. Fname, fsurname is also of data type string. Then they say we have got two more. We've got an fgrade, which is an integer, and faverage, which is going to be a double. Okay, so we've got our fgrade, which is of data type integer, and we've got an faverage, which is going to be a double. Okay, so that is step one already done. Okay, so we just basically go and create it. Nothing difficult about that. Now when it comes to the next few, this is going to be all our methods that we are going to be using. Remember, we get three types of methods. We have, well, actually four. We've got the constructor. That's going to be able to create the object for us or initialize the object. We get two types of constructors. We get the default one, where everything, all the attributes is basically set to null, meaning if it's a string, it's just going to be quotes that it doesn't have any value. If it's going to be an integer, it gets 0. If it's a double, it gets 0. So it's basically just creates it, but with the no values at all. Okay, then we get a parameterized constructor. Now the parameterized is basically, it means it has inputs. So from the front side, you are going to basically send the name, surname, grade, and average to the back side using that parameter. Remember, the parameter is basically a placeholder. It's just like a transport cup with the content inside. Then once it gets to the back end, you just want to take whatever you have transported and give it to the correct attributes over here. So your parameters will then just be given to your attributes. Now the thing is, with my constructors, because I've got two constructors, I want to use the overload function at both. Now what that means is, if you were to call the function, so let's say you call the create function, but you don't put in the parameters, it's going to look for the one with parameters. It's going to say, ish, I can't find it. Oh, but luckily there's an overload. So let's see if we can find one that doesn't need the parameters. It's going to go look and it finds the default one. Same vice versa. If you put the parameters and it sees that, okay, well, the default one, we don't have any parameters, instead of giving you an error, it's going to read overload, meaning that before you give me an error, go see is there not another constructor that needs parameters. So it's going to go look, oh, okay, so this constructor can take parameters, so it's going to use this constructor. Okay, that is what the overload means. It just means that do not give me an error, there is one more of the same type. Okay, we put the overload in just if we have more than one of the same method. Okay, now the next one, the accessors. You said the accessors is going to be our functions. Okay, the function is basically just going to have a result, or it's going to return something for us. It's going to go access something, return it for us. Okay, the mutators is going to be our procedures. So with the mutators, we normally just use like a set or do a calculation or update something. So it's just needs to do it. It's not going to give us a result at all. And that is why the accessors is normally called our getters, and our mutators is the set. Okay, because get, you will get a result. Set is you just set something, you update it. And then lastly, we've got a toString method. Now the toString method is just basically, we just want to display something, and the only place we can get a hold of all of these attributes. So remember, on the front side, you cannot access it. You have to let our background or back end create our display for us and then send it through via that result. Okay, so in a sense, our toString is also kind of a function, and we are also going to call it a function, but we just call it function toString. Okay, so let's get started with the first one. It says a default constructor setting all the attributes to null and then overload. So if we go to the coding, we go to the public section, and now we can just go ahead and create that method. So we are just going to say it is a constructor. If I can spell, there we go, constructor, there we go. Okay, so constructor, and we normally just call it create. Okay, now if I do not have the brackets, that means that that is going to be my default one, and I just have to remember my overload. Okay, so I end my statement, and I put the overload in, and I end it again. Okay, basically now we can just press Control plus Shift plus C, just remember that. Control plus Shift plus C. If I press this, now I can have some place where I can do actually the coding. So now it must just take all our attributes, give it the value of no. So basically that means we are going to type in our f name gets the value of empty quotes. Okay, our f surname gets the value of, again, empty quotes. Okay, then we are at our f grade. So our f grade will just get the value of, this is an integer, so we just say 0. And then lastly we have our f average. So our f average will just get the value of also 0. Okay, so did I complete the question? I did create a constructor. It is default, I don't have any parameters. I overloaded that method. And as we can see that all of my attributes have the value null. So there's no content inside of those attributes, but it just exists. Okay, it exists, it's useless, but it is there. Okay, now for the next one, it's asking us to make a constructor with parameters that will initialize all attributes. Okay, so if we go back to our Delphi, we are going to do just that. We are going to write a constructor, also called create. But now inside of the brackets is where we put our parameters. Okay, so do you agree with me? We've got 4 attributes. So how many parameters do we need? We need 4 because each and every one needs a value. Okay, so with these ones, you do not want to name them the same as your attributes. Okay, so that's why in the beginning I said you can call it anything. What I normally do is I call it a P and then something. So it just stands for parameter name or parameter surname, parameter grade, etc. So I would go ahead and say, well, we need a parameter name. Okay, we also need a parameter surname. Now both of these is of type string, so I'm just going to add my comma in there. Again, you can do it separately. Then I'm going to add my semicolon, and I can add the third parameter, which is going to be our parameter grade. That's going to be of data type integer. And then what we are also going to add is the last one is going to be our parameter for average, so p average. And this is basically just of data type double. Okay, afterwards, after the brackets, I'm just going to end my statement, and I just need to remember something else. That is going to be my overload. Okay, what we can now do is we just need to give it some code. So we're going to just click here on the right hand side, Control Shift C, and now we can start by actually just initializing our attributes. Okay, so we are going to need to give fname a value. And what value will fname get? It's going to get? Okay, pname. Okay, why does this work? Okay, so remember with the default one, I said it gets null. So we just take our attribute and we give it the value of null. So nothing. But now remember I said a parameter is like an input. It's like a value. You are going to come here on the front side. You're going to enter the name. It's going to send it to the back. How? It's going to be inside of that parameter. That p name is going to hold the name you are sending across. Once it gets to the back side, we must just take whatever we have found and just give it to our attributes. So our fname will then just get the value of pname. Okay, and then it's same for the rest. So our fsir name will get the value of what? Our P surname, so the attribute. Then we get to grade, so our F grade will get the value of our P grade. And then lastly is going to be our F average will get the value of our P average. Okay, so simply we just take whatever we receive as parameters and we give it to the appropriate attributes. I'm going to quickly just show you how to do maybe one accessor and one mutator. So let's start with the first accessor over here. It says an accessor get name to return the learner's name. So now accessor should give you a hint, it's going to be a function as well as the word return. Okay, so we're just going to go back to Delphi, we're going to scroll up, we're going to create that one, so it's going to be function, and it said is it get name? Get name, so function get name. Okay, and then we just have to basically say what data type will we send back, or result, which type of, is it going to be an integer, string, what data type is it going to be? So we just say it is of data type string. Okay, I control shift C, and now what do we want to send back? The name. Okay, so what word do I use if I want to send something back?
Result.
We use the word result, and we can say result is equal to, and where is my name located?
F name.
Okay, so it's in your F name. So I had a question here, why can't we use P name? Remember, P name only exists in this constructor. It's just a placeholder. We actually went ahead and gave F name the value of P name. So that means our F name, our attribute over here is the main name that we are going to use. So if we go down, we just say result is equal, wherever our name will be stored in, that's going to be our F name. Okay, now for the, I'm just going to do an mutator with you quickly. A mutator set grade. Okay, so mutator, we know it's going to be a procedure. So we're just going to go back, we scroll up to the top. I'm just going to add in my procedure. This is going to be set grade. So we say procedure set grade. Okay, with the set grade and procedure, you normally have an input. Okay, so in this case, on my front end, I'm going to be sending through a grade, a new grade, and it needs to be updated. So once I'm going to send it through, or I'm going to use a parameter, I just indicate here what the parameter's name is. Okay, so set grade, so maybe this parameter can be P new grade. Okay, so P new grade. And then I just have to indicate what data type this parameter will be. So if my grade is an integer, do you agree with me? I want to send through an integer. Okay. Now over here on the outer side, that's the only parameter I need. Do I need to go ahead and say of data type integer over here? Okay. No, because I'm not sending anything through, I can just simply end my statement. Okay, so over here we only have the semicolon if we have a function that's going to be sending something through. So you say the result is going to be of string, but here we do not have any result, so we do not say what data type it's going to be. Okay, in this case I'd say control plus shift plus C, and now I just need to set the grade to whatever is received. So I'm just going to say my grade will be found inside of my F grade, and I just need to give it the value of the parameter I received. So that's going to be P new grade, and that's it. Okay, so that is just the flow that you are going to be using. Now obviously you can go ahead and the rest is going to look very, very similar. It should take you like 3 minutes maybe to do the rest. Okay, just to give you a hint, when we get to a toString, it's also going to be function. Okay, but the data type we're going to be sending back is going to be a string. Now inside of the string, it's going to basically look like the same as, you know, if you do a rich edit display dot add. and you want to maybe display, in this case, this information. Chuck, oh, that's the name, surname, next line is going to be grade, then what grade it is, the average, and then what average it is. So if we are going to be looking at this, you're going to do it the exact same way you would have done it in the rich edit. So your result will be result is equal to, and then what is the format here? It is your F name plus a hashtag 9 plus your F surname. How do we get to another line? Plus hashtag 13, correct? And then in quotes, you will actually write the words grade, colon, space, and then plus another hashtag 9, and then you can get the F grade. Now the F grade, remember you want to send it through as a string. F grade is an integer, you just convert it into string, F grade, and so forth, until you have all of the information and you result it. Okay, but that's where I'm going to stop for today.